Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm doing a live with a new friend of mine, Erika. I'm hoping that Instagram cooperates with me because it was acting weird over there. Like, she couldn't see me, but I could see her. Hey, Joas. Hey, Bruna. Hey, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well today. Hey, Josiana. I hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. Because I am. I'm having a pretty good day. It's a very chill, like, calm day, you know. I am just waiting on my guest. Hopefully this works. Hey, Robin. How are you? I hope everyone... And again, Robin, that was such a cool shirt you were wearing. Like, I am a fan of nice clothes, and what you had on in that picture was pretty cool. Hey everyone who is joining, I am waiting for my guest, Melhore Seu Inglês. I'm like so bad at pronouncing stuff in Portuguese, so I'm just hoping that she joins. I hope that she gets here. Her name is Erika. I think that she lives in Brazil. Hi, Benjaji. Let's see. Benjaji, I can't accept your request right now because I'm waiting on a special guest. But maybe in the next live. Haha, thanks. I love that one too, to be honest. One of my best pieces. Nice. Perfect. Okay, here she is. Awesome. Okay. I am going to send her a... Oh, that's perfect. Hopefully Instagram will cooperate. Everyone cross your fingers, say a prayer or something.
Yes.
Hey!
Hello! Nice to meet you.
Nice to be seen. Nice to be met. Nice to meet you too.
Cool. All right. That's awesome.
Can you see me and hear me okay?
Perfectly well.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's me here.
I have no idea.
That's okay. That's fine. It's good to be talking to you anyway. So yes, I've been doing these live streams because I'm interested in getting to know the teachers, not only teachers, but anyone connected with languages somehow. So I don't know if you've watched some of them. So students, learners in general, polyglots, etc. And I would like to hear from you, and maybe we could chat about that.
But I'm still curious about you. Okay,
yes,
all right.
Yes. Let's introduce ourselves first, right?
Sure. You go first, ladies first.
All right. So my name is Erika. Some people don't know because our account is Melhore Seu Inglês, improve your English. But my name is Erika, and my partner, my husband, is Newton, the other teacher. We make the videos here on Instagram, on YouTube. We've been teachers for a very long time. We are Brazilian. We live in Brazil, and most of our students are Brazilians. And that's it. I think we teach through Skype only, virtually. So it's, yeah, I think it's that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm writing something to tag here. It's live with Erika from, and it's MELHORESEU Inglés.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
All right, perfect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pin that so I don't forget. Awesome. Okay. Well, Erika, it's so nice to meet you and all of your followers and stuff. I've seen you in other lives with different people, like with JC, and I think I saw you in a live with, I can't remember who else it was. Maybe it was Regina. I'm not really sure.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
We'll do, yeah.
Okay.
Not yet. Oh, no, yes, there was one. Yeah, she hosted the live stream. Yes.
Okay, but yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was actually, I think, the first one. I think the one that inspired me to do this.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, she's definitely a great first.
She is. And what about you? Where are you from?
So everybody, my name is Chris, and I am from Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. It's kind of like in the middle east of the United States, and I'm an English teacher. I've been teaching for about 3 years now, and it's my absolute most favorite thing to do. I really, really enjoy it a lot. It's definitely very fun. Yeah. That's
cool. So you decided to start teaching because of that. You were really into learning the language, and how did you start really to teach? Like how I started with private students and then a language school.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I first became interested in teaching English because I'm a grammar nerd. Like, I really, really enjoy grammar a lot, and I enjoy the pronunciation stuff and like the history of words and things like that. So I'll get really, really excited about like the origin of a word. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you know that this word comes from this? And but everyone else is like.
No, I love it.
But maybe not if you're like at a party or something.
Well, yeah, could tell fun stories. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I guess. but I always enjoyed it so much, and I enjoy helping people to understand how to communicate like different ideas about stuff, and I like using analogies and context and vocabulary and things like that. That's how I started, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, and how do you teach? Do you teach at a language school or through Skype? Do you so, who do you teach, and people, where are they from? Where are your students from?
Okay, let's see. First, all right, so I do teach at a language school, but they're one-on-one classes right now. I only have one student that I meet with. He's from Japan.
Okay.
And his English is like upper intermediate. But I also give classes on Skype and through another website called Verbling.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I've used it I used it in the past when I was learning German. I tried to practice there. Yeah, it's a good place, actually. Good tip, right? Verbling. Because there is an area where people can practice, like chat rooms, right?
I think so.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
At that time, there were. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Verbling was pretty different in the past. They've kind of commercialized how Verbling works now.
Okay.
So I teach classes on Verbling and just like private classes online. Probably like 95% of my classes are done online.
Okay. Yeah, one of my questions was going to be about technology, using technology to teach, and how do you think, there are so many things to talk about it. How does it affect the way we teach? Some people are concerned about it being something positive or negative. Do you believe it is or not? How do you see technology?
I think it's great. I think technology is like the best thing that has happened to language in a long time, because we're able to, like, it makes the world a lot smaller, and I can talk to a woman who's in Brazil, or a man who's in Russia, or a lady that's in Mexico with like no problem. And that would not have been possible like maybe 20 or 30 years ago. I think that it's really, really great, because now if you want, you can just use the internet to learn something totally by yourself. And that's something that would have been, I mean, it would have been possible in the past, but I think it would have been a lot harder. The polyglots of the past, I think they did a lot more work than we do.
Yeah, it's because I like learning languages, and I started learning some languages before the internet. That's how old I am. So it was, I always tell this story, it was really, really hard to get the materials. It was only through the teacher, and Spanish, Italian, and French. And then the first language I started learning by myself after post-internet, or after internet, was German. So I experimented a lot. But one thing that I feel is different is, this is not because of the internet. It doesn't have anything to do with the internet. But I felt it more in a stronger way, because I was learning so much. There are so many resources and materials online. you can learn things by yourself, but having a teacher makes a difference.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Completely different, right? So even today, you have all, what happens today is that we have access to the same things, the students and the teachers. But the teachers, they have that expert eye, and they know what to do, right? Where, like, can guide the student and so on and so forth. So, and for example, now I think everybody knows that I'm learning Polish. It's been 9 months. I'm learning mostly by myself. But I am a teacher, so I know what to do, how to study. We're going to talk about that. But I've had 5 classes with Polish teachers, and it's, you know, it's fantastic because they go straight to the point. You know, I would spend a lot more time to find something out, like to try to solve a problem, to fix something, and they can just point it really quickly, and you can fix it right away. So, yeah. I'm saying this because the way we teach, I don't know if you feel it this way, it has changed a little bit, right? So, for example, you use resources, right? What kinds of resources do you like to use with your students?
I like using podcasts a lot.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's a good listening resource, I think.
Yeah. How do you use them?
Usually I pick a podcast that is meant for native speakers to listen to on like a regular basis, but I will send the podcast to my student and I'll ask for a summary of what happened, or I'll ask questions about what they understood happened and things like that. We'll talk about expressions that they used and things like that.
This is great. Yeah, I like podcasts too. I like especially the ones that have transcripts. Not all of them have transcripts, right? But yes, I love listening to podcasts myself, and yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. Let me ask you other things here about a routine. What do you tell your students about a routine? How they should they have a routine or no?
This is something that we talk about like on the first class when especially if it's an online class. I say, so how often do you want to do this? Like, because there are some people who think they can just have a class maybe 1 time a week, and although this is helpful for you, I think that it's pretty necessary to study at least twice or even 3 times a week between the
classes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, I mean, like 3 classes a week, but but then or up to like, I don't know, 2 to 3 classes a week. But there should be, I like giving homework with that. So some time with the teacher and then some time by yourself learning and doing research by yourself. And then I think that's really, really important. If you don't have that frequency, it's so easy. It's so easy to just quit. So easy to quit doing that. So it has to become a habit, I think. Yeah,
and this is connected with motivation, which is a good point, right? And so motivation is something also that starts, you know, the student and the teacher, they both have a lot of motivation in the beginning, especially the student is starting. Now it's the beginning of the year. A lot of people want to, it's like, for some people it's, how do you call it? I forgot the word.
A New Year's resolution?
New Year's resolution. And, you know, and then it fizzes out. With time, and sometimes in the very beginning, a month in or 2 months, it's gone. The motivation is gone. So how do you deal with that, the motivation of a student? What do you recommend the student to do? Or
I focus on the purpose of why the student is learning English. So I work with a lot of students that are preparing for some kind of interview or an exam, or they want to be able to do their job better at work. So they need this. I don't have a lot of people who are just like, oh, you know, I want to learn some English. Why not? I don't have a lot of people like that, just because that motivation thing is so, yeah, learning as a hobby. I don't have a lot of people that are just learning as a hobby. I think that I tell the student, like, from the beginning, like, look, this is your responsibility. You want to learn, and you can use me as a tool. I'm so happy to help you and point you in the right direction and give you the resources that you want and need. But I'm not your parent. I'm not your husband or whatever. I can't make you do something. You've got to do it. You have to be motivated. You have to find your motivation. And I know sometimes it's hard to do, but you got to do it.
Yeah, some people say there are at least two kinds of motivation. There is the extrinsic and intrinsic. The extrinsic would be, oh, I need it for my job, I want to travel, etc. And the intrinsic is something, I think this is the most important one in my point of view, because if you feed it, if you fuel it with something, it can grow, right? And it's different. It's less flimsy. I think the external motivation is a little flimsy. It can go away very...
Yeah.
I don't know. And the other thing, yes, some people want to travel. It's something that is good and fun. But because they feel English is difficult, they kind of quit midway. But for example, other people, they need to learn English for work. Yeah. And there is a lot of pressure, right? So they don't really... And these people, these students, they usually don't have much time. I'm asking this to my guests because they work a lot. People work a lot here in Brazil, and when they're not working, they're super tired. Yeah. You know?
So true.
So yeah, so I need to find a way to deal with that, and they at the same time they need to learn. So to make it right. Yeah. Make it a habit or something.
I've had a lot of students that, like, I don't know how they do it. Like, honestly, they tell me, like, oh, from 6 to this time I was working, then I came home and I cooked dinner, and then I did this with my kids, and then I had to do this for my wife, and then then I went to the gym, and then now I have class. And I'm like, how are you doing all that stuff? Like, I work, and maybe I'll study some stuff, but the rest is like, I'm gonna relax. Like, but so it takes a lot. You have to be learning a language, at least for most people. For me, is not something that you can just be like, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm gonna do it. I guess maybe it'll just happen. No, it's like something that you have to really try to do. You can't. Yes. It's not something that is gonna happen passively.
Yeah. So Rob Azevedo is asking, how to improve my English fast? Really, really fast. What would you say?
I would say what is fast for you, and the speed won't matter. Like, the speed that you do it won't matter if you're not consistent. So we have there's this fable from Aesop, from like a philosopher. There's the tortoise versus the hare. And, you know, the hare wants to get there really, really fast. They're like, I just want to do it really, really quick. I want to get to the end. But the tortoise goes slow, and he's very consistent with the things that he does. I think it's better to be like the tortoise in this situation. Don't worry so much about speed. If you're consistent about it, then things will happen faster than if you're like, okay, I want to learn this. I want to do this. I want to do that. If you're consistent, good things will happen for you. So just be consistent. Don't worry so much about the speed that it happens. If you're consistent, it will happen. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I feel this way with Polish because I have been studying. It's unbelievable, but I have been studying this language, which is considered hard because it's not familiar, right? It's another family. It's not. I speak Portuguese in Brazil. It's not a Romance language. It's completely different. And because it is difficult, and I decided to learn at least the basics, a
reach level A2. I wanted to reach level A2 in 12 months.
Okay.
And then I said, I'm going to study every day at least 1 hour every day. And that's what I did. I tell this because this is so amazing. I didn't know it would be possible. This is an experiment, by the way. I am experimenting with this. And yes, and what you're saying is completely true, or at least it is true for me. You know, studying every day. First, my motivation grew. I never thought it would be possible. But in the beginning, I knew nothing. And 9 months later, a child was born. 9 months later, I feel comfortable with the language now. It's so crazy. I'm doing the exercises. I'm making fewer mistakes. You know, fewer mistakes. The words come to my head. I don't have to think about it. They just come. Nice. Of course, it's very basic. My level now is A2. A2 in 9 months. So what you're saying is completely true for me. At least for me, I tested, and it has been working. And it's been working so well that I was planning on giving it a break now in March and going back to German, because I felt very frustrated with German for many reasons, and it's a language I don't like very much, and I want to like it. I want to have fun with the language. I can't right now. And to do the same thing with German, because it's working. It is working. On the other hand, I was watching a video, 2 polyglots, they were talking. One of them is Lydia. I've been talking about her a lot these days because there is a series of videos on YouTube with another polyglot. And she's also given a talk at TED. And her talk is a 10-minute talk. I recommend watching that, a 10-minute talk. And it's been watched by more than 1 million people. It's been 2 weeks, I think. It's fantastic. Yes, it's crazy, crazy. And she says these things, right? But she was saying in the video I was watching on YouTube that she doesn't study like that. She doesn't study every day. She thinks this is crazy. And also, she studies for 2 months, and then there is a break, and then she skips days. Yes, she skips days and things like that. And because she feels tired. She feels tired. So, yes, I think people are different. That's why I'm saying that this consistency thing works very, very well for me, and probably for some people, right? And yeah, but people are different. It's important to know what works for you, right? But I really like that. I am very systematic towards language learning because I think it builds momentum. You know, you start to gain this speed and develop faster and faster if you don't give it a break. So I don't like giving it breaks because of that. And it's fantastic, fantastic. Rob is, let's see if there is another question here. Where are you from? So where are you from again, Chris? People are asking here.
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee in the United States.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm American.
You're American. People are asking if I have always been passionate about English. I have been passionate about languages. And it's funny, English is something that I never questioned, because here in Brazil, you have to learn it as fast as you can. And strangely, weirdly enough, in my opinion, I think only 1% of the Brazilian population knows a little English.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, so we have classes at school, but then something happens and people stop. I did an exchange program. I lived in the US for a year, next to the Canadian border, and I visited Montreal, and then I noticed people speak French there, and then I got motivated to learn French. When I started, I learned English before French. When I was learning French, then I became passionate about languages at that point. So it was not with English. But English is like a given for me because I do everything in English. My internet, everything, all the research. I talk to people. And I have another account for my, I have a Polyglot Erika account where I follow polyglots, teachers, students, learners, etc. And that's the language people use there. It's English. The polyglots use English to communicate with each other, right? So I tell people to do that, to learn English fast and learn other things, like you were saying before. You can learn many things, especially if you know English, I would say, right? What about you? So were you always passionate? Do you remember when exactly you started to pay more attention to languages and to English?
Oh, yes. Okay, let's see. There were two important times when I started paying attention to languages. There was one time when I was in elementary school, and I think I must have been like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and there was a Spanish-speaking kid in my class, and he had a Hispanic name that I wasn't used to hearing before, and I was like, and he told me that he spoke Spanish as well, and I was like, what? Okay, how do you say? And I started that, like, opened Pandora's box, and I was like, how do you say 3 in Spanish? And like we started like really simple things. That was in the beginning, and then it happened again in high school, but it was like a different situation. So there were a lot of Spanish speakers at my high school, and I honestly just wanted to know what they were saying. I was nosy, and I was like, are they talking about me? What if I want to? And I was like, maybe I can learn Spanish, and I can learn how to talk about other people. So honestly, now, if I ever learn a language, it's because I want to be able to talk about people in public. So.
Yeah, and that's cool. But did you learn? Did you keep learning Spanish, or do you know other languages?
I kept learning Spanish. I studied it in college. I've studied Portuguese before. I've studied.
Really? So cool.
I mean, it's not like I can like watch. Like I've watched 3% like 3 times now, and I'm like I enjoy it a lot. But I've studied some French. My friend Robin English is from France. He's like so excited about French that you were learning French and stuff. But I studied like enough French so that I can get myself in trouble. I've studied some Farsi before. I've forgotten a lot. I've studied some Farsi, like from the language from Iran.
Yes.
But I've forgotten a lot of that stuff now. But yeah, so now I'm learning some Russian.
You're learning Russian now? That's so cool. So you're learning by yourself? Do you have classes every now and then? How do you do it?
I have classes. Let's see, how many? I'm looking at my calendar right now. I have 2 Russian classes per week, and most of my students are Russian. So like sometimes during class, I'm like, okay, but how do you say that in Russian? Really quick. I just want to know. Like I'm really
That's awesome.
really curious about the language and everything. I wanted to learn some Russian just because I need to know how it feels to be a student learning a difficult language.
Oh my God, we have so much in common, Chris. Yes, exactly. That is why I'm learning Polish, because I chose Polish because it has nothing to do with, this is the first Slavic language I learned. And now I think actually it will be easier to learn Russian because they have some things in common, right? And yes, so how do you like it? Do you think it's hard?
Okay, now the right answer as a teacher would be, I love it. I love learning and stuff, but really it is pretty hard.
It is.
It's pretty hard, and there's so much like that goes into the grammar of the language, and it's good for me because English has a lot of grammar rules and things like that, and exceptions, but Russian has a lot of that, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's interesting because, for example, the way you feel with Russian is, I think it's a little bit the way Brazilians, we feel, I feel too, with English in terms of, for example, the phrasal verbs and prepositions, right? In Russian, I believe what is hard is the cases.
The cases, and then there are these things that are like phrasal verbs, they're the prefixes. So if you add a prefix, it changes the meaning of the word, and I'm like, oh my God, why? Like,
that's so cool. So do you do the same things you do with your students? You do it also, for example, do you listen to podcasts? Do you watch movies, TV shows?
So I am learning what it means to be a student that is too lazy.
It's hard to be a student.
It is so hard. I have so much respect for people who are learning English. Like before I was like, okay, you want to learn English, just do it. Don't be a wimp, don't be lazy, etc. But now I'm like, oh my God, like this is so hard. Like I listen to a lot of music, and my husband is so sick of it. He's not learning Russian right now. And he's like, turn that music off. I'm sick of listening to Russian music. And I'm like,
no, yeah, that's true. My husband too. He can't listen to Polish songs anymore. He's always like, oh my God, and the movies and TV shows. He actually watched a few movies with me and 1 or 2 TV shows, but it's too much to ask. Yes, it's very alien. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty hard. I need to. Oh gosh, there's so many things that I need to do as a Russian student. Like I need to be more consistent. I mean, I do have classes twice a week, but I need to be like really determined to like study at home and stuff. Gosh. Are
you at a point where you can talk to people like basic stuff? What? Exchange a few words.
Okay, so my Russian is very temperamental. It's very moody. So, like,
what do you mean?
So okay, this is what I mean. Like some days I'll talk to my teacher, and we're having like a good conversation. I'm telling her how I feel, what I'm thinking, what I can remember, what I want to do. But then on some days, I'm just like, what is the word for was? Like, how do I say, like, super basic stuff.
Sometimes I forget I.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, some of the most basic things, I'm just like, I don't even know how to say that. And then I'm like, how do I say forget? Oh, crap, I don't remember how to say I forgot that. And I'm like,
do you use Google? I used it a lot. I use Google a lot.
I'm using it more now. Like Google Translate, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm using it more now. So in the past, I was this teacher like, don't use Google Translate.
Okay.
You need to just be strong and learn how to do it yourself. Put it together yourself. But now I'm like, nope. I'm learning. I'm using Google Translate. You can't use it for everything. You do have to. You do have to be careful with it.
Yes, be careful.
But like what I have started doing is I'll type it into Google Translate and then I confirm it with a native.
Me too. So, I do the same thing, the exact same thing. Yes. And by the way, I don't know. I use a site called Lang8. Do you know Lang8?
It sounds familiar.
LANG-8, where natives correct texts.
Oh, right. Okay, yes.
Yes. That's awesome.
You know what? I think that you were talking about this in another live. I was watching you.
Probably.
And then I searched for it on the internet, and I found an application that's similar. It's called Hi Native.
Native. I know it too. Yes, Hi Native. The problem with Hi Native is it's just on the cell phone, and I prefer to type instead. I'm not good, you know. I'm old. I don't know how to do this fast. But I prefer to use the computer. But Hi Native is awesome. It's awesome because there are those categories of questions you can ask. How is my pronunciation? You can send files, digital files. How is my pronunciation? Do you understand what I'm saying? And how do you say this in the language and things like that, right? So it's really great. I really love Hi Native and Lang8. I have been studying using a textbook, a Polish textbook that has no answer key. This is a problem because so I use Lenge a lot for people to help me and correct. Well, I was going to ask you something else. Oh, about forgetting. About you know, this is so common, even in our own language, right? I forget words in Portuguese when I'm speaking, when I'm more tired, etc., etc. How do you deal with forgetting words? Actually, how do you deal with remembering words? How do you remember words that you learn? You know,
if there, and this happens to me all the time. Like my teacher, I feel so bad for her sometimes. Like sometimes she'll be teaching me some stuff, and she's like, "Okay, the word for this in Russian is blah 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 blah," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then I use it, and then I'm talking, and then I'm like, "What was that word?" And she tells me again, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I talk, and literally 5 seconds later, I'm like, how do you say that word again? Honestly, you have, like, for me, after class, like, I take notes of the stuff that I really didn't do a good job practicing in class. And I talk to, like, my language partners, and I'm like, look, today I really, really want to practice using this phrase. Can we use it as many times as possible in this phone call? Can we please say it like 10 times and just stay around, keep the context around this topic? And like, thank goodness they're patient with me because I need it.
So you have language partners?
Yes.
How did you find them?
Honestly, a lot of them are my students, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I found,
cool.
like, some of them are my students. Some of them I have found here on Instagram. They've been really, they heard me saying, like, I'm learning Russian, and they're like, oh, I know Russian, I can help you if you need. People are so kind. They are so nice.
Yes.
I wish that, like, Americans were as nice as all the other cultures that I have encountered learning other languages, because I feel like for Portuguese, so many people have been like, oh, if you need help, just let me know, and I'll help you, and they're so kind. I wish we were as kind, but there are some nice Americans out there, I promise you guys. There
are, yes, and especially the polyglot community. I really recommend doing that. What I did and what I tell people to do is to create a second account here on Instagram. You can do that. For example, mine is Polyglot Erika. You can. I like the name Polyglot, even if I can't speak all the language fluently. This is not the point. The point is to send a message to people. I like languages. Yeah. You know, so I have this account, and on that account, I follow, like I said, teachers, all, you know, of all languages, and including Polish, of course, and other learners and things like that. So on my feed, it's just language-related stuff, only that, all the time. And actually, I think that is something really important in helping me keep my motivation. Because I said that my motivation increased. One reason, I think, is because I study every day, but the other reason is the support of a community. Yeah. And I was going to ask you about that too. You have a lot of people you can talk to, right, in Russian to practice, etc. And I don't know, I feel here on Instagram the support is amazing. There is a, you know, there is an area on Instagram where these people follow each other. It's a polyglot community, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. You know, that's the only thing we get. Not the only, but a lot of encouragement all the time, and you always see what other people are doing, how other people are practicing their languages, all the different languages, and you feel like, oh, I want to learn all these languages too. It's very, very exciting, very exciting. And I think it helps keep motivation, and also find language partners, like you found here on Instagram. If you, for example, especially with the hashtags, right? So if you get the right hashtags, people find you. So many Polish people have found me, and we get in touch, we make videos, record videos together, live streams and things like that. These days, I have been doing short sessions of like 30 minutes live streams where I am just studying Polish. I have my, and then I actually do it on YouTube. I have a channel now just for that. And then I leave it Instagram also, the live stream going. So it's funny because sometimes I'm practicing. It's like I'm practicing by myself, but I want to practice and saying words out loud to hear myself and to practice, to repeat a lot. And then people pop up, they show up on Instagram and they can help me or just comment or say something interesting. And that little interaction helps me remember that moment and what I was studying. This is something very interesting that has happened a few times. So, like I said, I really like to experiment and see with technology and see how it can help us make language learning more efficient in this way, remembering more, learning faster, like someone here asked. Okay, so Baya is saying hello from Kurdistan. What is the language you speak there? Do you know? Kurdistan?
Kurdish. They speak Kurdish.
Kurdish, yes. And that's an interesting language. How is the Brazilian educational system like for English? Is it good? I think it's kind of the same as far as I've been listening from hearing from other people. We have English at school, but what most people say when they leave is, I didn't learn anything in school. I didn't learn anything. I think, yes, our educational system is kind of poor. It's not good. It's very weak. But I personally believe we can learn a lot with any kind of resource and situation and etc. So in my case, maybe because I already liked languages, I learned a lot of English in high school. But I'm like you. I like grammar. I like drilling. I like, and I sang a lot of songs in English out loud. I did that shadowing technique a lot. So it was fun for me to do it by myself. I don't know. I think some other people, I am an introvert. So for me, I think it's easier to have fun by myself. But I think most Brazilians are very social and they want to talk. They want to talk a lot. And they can't do that in high school. They can't speak in English because there is no time. It's just a few hours a week and you need to learn all the grammar, all the other things. I don't know. I think it's important. The grammar that I learned in school was very, very important. I think it's like the skeleton is how the language works. For me personally, I cannot imagine learning a language without focusing on grammar. With Polish, for example, I read a whole book, a grammar book, a basic grammar Polish book. I read the whole book because I want to have even if it's superficial, but an idea of the limits of the language, where it goes, what kinds of things I need to be concerned about there that I need to focus on. So this is very, very important for me. And the school system provided that, I had books, I could study, so it was fine. But of course, you don't learn how to speak. You don't practice that a lot. It's not very, very intense. But now you can do it by yourself, definitely. You can find language partners, very, very easily now with the internet. There is no excuse, right? There's no excuse not to practice speaking or any other thing you want to. Right?
I totally agree with that. Here, a follower was asking, hold on, let's see. She said, he or she, I can't tell. Chris and Erika, could you talk about study abroad? I mean, living in another country. So I haven't. I don't know if I've been in a place long enough to say that I studied abroad. But you mentioned that you had been abroad before, like here to the United States, I think, right?
Yeah,
How
it was
was that
a year.
experience for you?
It was a year. I was very young. I was a teenager. I was 17. And before that, so some teenagers, the teenagers that can, they have English classes at a language school. And that helped me. That's what I did. I learned. I was kind of low intermediate when I went to the US to live there. And yeah, I would say that reaching an intermediate level can make your experience abroad more profitable, you know, because then you can communicate in a, you know, minimally with the other people, and you can work from there, right? You don't suffer so much. If you are A1, A2, I don't know, you will have to focus a lot on the language first to be able to pay attention to what's around you, right? What's happening around you. So it's a lot of work, a lot of energy that you're going to spend in this kind of situation. So I would recommend a stronger knowledge, you know, higher knowledge, more knowledge of English before, or any other language actually, unless it's Spanish for us, because Spanish is very similar to, right? You know that, you know both. Very, very similar. So it depends on the language. In the case of English, yes, I would say people need, I would recommend an intermediate level, you know, because, but it depends on the person. It depends on the person. And the experience was great. I was very young, but it was very good. I lived in a very small town. There were like 5,000 people, inhabitants in the town. In my
where was it?
Oh, it was in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
New Hampshire, in a town called Alton Bay. There is a lake, Winnipesaukee. Yeah, yeah. Nobody knows New Hampshire. Nobody. So it's a tiny state in the northeast of the U.S., but there is a border, right? It borders Canada. That's why I visited Canada, Niagara Falls, and so on. And it was good. So, but it was a life. It's interesting because I live in a big city here. It's like there are like 3 million people here, and in this town, it was so tiny, so tiny. And the house where I lived was very far from downtown, where the school was, and you know. And we needed a car. I couldn't drive, so I depended on other people. So I stayed home a lot. And for me, again, it was not a problem because that I have this kind of what? I like this. I like staying home. That was not a problem. But what I'm saying is that I didn't interact like a lot. I didn't see a lot of people, you know, like you see in big cities and talk to people everywhere. I was a little limited. On the other hand, I could focus on my family, talk to them, a few friends, yes. It was very calm, very, very calm. And I think in this kind of environment, I could learn more. I don't know. I read a lot, I studied, because I like grammar too, so I studied a lot. And yeah, it was good, it was great. I recommend that, an exchange student program. Is it due, so Rob is asking, is it due to teachers or the institution and money?
Oh, I think he was asking about the school system and the teaching situation there in Brazil.
No, I don't think it's the teachers. I think the teachers are doing the best they can always here, because the situation for teachers is not good at all. They earn very little and they have to do a lot. So it's crazy. And yeah, I think how can we improve this? I don't know how. I think we need to take, like you said in the beginning, we need to be more responsible now, because we can. We cannot like, oh, teacher, you are going to do all the work for me. This is an old mentality, pre-internet. right? Which was not correct, but it was very common. You, teacher, do everything for me. I'll just cross my arms and listen to you, right? That it was like that before. Now it's not like that. And I always encourage students to be proactive, to be independent, to do whatever you can. Follow all the teachers you can on Instagram, on YouTube. Comment. I love doing that in Polish in the videos on YouTube. I always like, whenever I have the chance, I write there in the comments. I can meet people, practice my Polish, and you know, there are so many things that we can do. We don't need it's too much for the teacher. The teacher should really guide you and give you ideas, suggestions. Say, oh, this is a weak, you have this is a weak point, you need to practice this more. For example, very common points, the simple past, irregular verbs in the simple past, prepositions, phrasal verbs, present perfect. Students are always asking about that. Yeah, so you don't need to be in the class. You can do the work before the class and then practice with your teacher, right? You can do a huge research and, you know, hear from different perspectives about the same topic, and then you come to class. One of the things I tell the students to do is you are going to do all the research, learn everything you can about the present perfect, and next class you are going to explain to me.
Oh, that's good. Nice.
Yeah, because if you can explain to me, it means you understand it. If you can't, you need to do a better job at researching, and because there are so many things, right? You know, the teachers make videos about this all the time, all the time. And so, yeah. And I actually tell my students to tell me, if they listen to a podcast, they tell me everything they can about that. If they read an article, if they read a book, if they watch a movie, if they watch a TV show, whatever it is that they're doing, I ask them to tell me in class, in detail, so they can use as many new words as possible in class. And then as they speak, I can see what the weakest point is. For example, oh, it's the present perfect, prepositions, blah, blah, blah. And then I tell them you should focus on that. You know, so, yeah, I think students should be more independent. We can be. We are doing this, right? You and me, we are doing this. Yeah, so it's totally possible to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I
think my students must think that I'm like the nosiest person, because I'm always asking like, oh, okay, so what'd you do today? What movie did you watch? How was it? What was the plot? Who was your favorite character?
Same
Why? And I know they must get sick of it, but first of all, I am nosy, so I just want to know. Second of all, it's good. It's good to be able to express the things that you have experienced and what you want and what you know and what you've done, etc. So that's why we ask as teachers, I think. Yeah.
Mode Aime is saying, eu quero muito falar inglês. I really want to speak English. And she's saying that you're very handsome. Just what I have to do to memorize phrasal verb. Yeah, memorizing phrasal verbs. We need another. Oh, no, we have time because we started a little. Memorizing phrasal verbs, right? So this is what I do. I have been experimenting with a method that is called the gold list. I don't know if you've heard me talking about it.
The gold list?
Gold list, a gold list method.
I've never heard of it.
It's very, very simple. All you need is a notebook and a pen, and then you write a list like that. Here it's in Polish and here in English, but it will be in English and in Portuguese, the translation, right? Sure. So it's 4 pages, 25 words per page, every day. And then when you reach, in my case, you should wait until the second week to go back to the first page and see what you remember. And then that's what they call a distillation. You rewrite, you copy the words you don't remember, and you don't write the words you, I forgot something here.
I see.
And you don't write the words you already remember. So you do that 3 times, but at different points in the future. It is very similar to, it's a spaced repetition system, right?
Yeah.
S,
the
RS, like a like the flashcard system, and Anki, right? But but the difference is that you write it down. And in my case, I've been experimenting it with 4 days. I've been doing it for 4 days now, and it's very good. I like it so far because for me it works. Some people, they love Anki. I tried using Anki in the past a few times, and I just can't. I can't stand that system. I cannot. But so I try, and I don't use Quizlet. I don't use Memorize. So I tried now with writing down the words, and it's been helping me a lot. I already remember a lot of new words. Maybe it would work for phrasal verbs. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you tell your students?
I've never thought about doing that before. But for my students, we do a bunch of different exercises, and we I always try to
practice a lot.
We try to practice a lot, and I try to make sure that this new word is applicable to their life in some kind of way.
Yeah.
With one of my students, we're talking about like New Year's resolution vocabulary, and one of the words is to give in. So I'm like, okay, so in what situation did you give in? When you give in, it means that you finally say yes to something that you didn't want to do at first, but now it's okay. So he invited me to the party, and I didn't want to go because I have to study, but I gave in because I need to relax. I want to see my friends or something. So I try to get a bunch of different contexts together. So in what situation did you give in last year? And like I try to get them to use it as much as possible. And then we play games where they have to use that vocabulary. Using it is so important. If you don't use it, you're gonna forget it. You're gonna forget if you don't use it. You might keep it for a little while, but eventually it's gonna go away.
Yeah, and especially if you, like you're saying, you connect with your life. I think this emotional, somebody was saying this, I think yesterday, I don't know, an emotional connection helps a lot, right? When you visualize what's happening or what was happening around the time you were using that word, or visualizing the situation itself, right? So, and what you felt and feeling, everything. All those things, sensorial things, can help you remember too. Yeah, I think using your imagination. Some people use mnemonics. Is that how you call it?
Oh, yeah, mnemonics. Mnemonic devices.
Yes, that could help too. Right? You have to create these stories, sometimes crazy stories, very vibrant colors and sounds and things like that. Yeah.
I need to start using mnemonics more often. They are pretty fun. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
Erika, we've got 1.5 minutes left, exactly.
Okay. All right, so can you song some?
This always sounds ominous when I say it. I was going to say any last words, like I'm going to speak to you or something. No, I'm not going to. But like, what parting words do you have for our followers?
Yes, I wish you have a great year in which you learn a lot of English, and I wish you develop this independence. I wish you become very, very proactive and explore the internet and use it to learn, and practice with your teacher. Practice with your teacher. Yes, that's what I would say.
All right, nice. All right, I want to say that it's so important to be consistent, you guys. If you can be consistent, then it doesn't matter how fast you're going, as long as you're moving forward. You're going to move forward. You'll look back and say, eventually, like, look at how far I've come. So if you're consistent, you'll be able to do that. So thank you all for watching.
Perfect.
And thank you so much, Erika, for
Yes.
being here. I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you. I love the chat, and maybe we can do this in the future again, right?
Definitely, definitely. 3, 2, 1, see ya.